Good afternoon, I'm Zach Ryan and I work in the investment management team, and I'm going to give you a brief overview of this week's market summary. Global equity markets faced cross-currents this week as positive US-Mexico trade developments were overshadowed by uncertainty over US-China trade. Lifting markets early in the week was news that late on Friday, 7th of June, the US and Mexico had reached a deal on measures to stem the flow of Mexican migration to the US. As a result, President Trump indefinitely postponed tariffs on Mexican imports, which were scheduled to come into force on Monday, 10th of June. Whilst Mexico may have averted US tariffs, positive sentiment was short-lived as Trump revealed he was personally blocking a US-China trade deal unless China accepted their previously negotiated terms. He also reiterated his threat to proceed with more tariffs if there is no trade deal at the G20 meeting later this month. Chinese industrial production data this week implied tariffs are weighing on the Chinese economy. Growth of 5% was the lowest since 2002 and fell short of analyst expectations. China has already announced a raft of measures to support the economy, and disappointing data strengthens the case for further support. China was already demonstrating willingness when earlier this week it encouraged local governments to increase borrowing in order to boost infrastructure spending. Whilst the industrial data release was disappointing, Chinese retail sales did beat expectations, potentially reflecting the positive effects of recent personal tax reductions. The case for the Federal Reserve to support the US economy was also bolstered this week, as US inflation data fell short of expectations. US core CPI rose 2% from last year versus estimates of 2.1%. The US announces monetary policy next Wednesday, and softening data has led the market to expect 2 to 3 US interest rate cuts this year. However, it wouldn't be surprising if they held rates next week, pending further clarity on US-China trade relations post the G20 meeting later this month. Finally, the battle for the next UK Conservative Party leader was officially underway this week, and we saw 10 Prime Minister hopefuls whittled down to 6. Boris Johnson was a clear favourite amongst his peers, and by the end of next week we should know the final 2 contenders. They'll face a vote by the 120,000 Conservative Party members towards the end of July. Now, that's all from me this week, and don't forget, if you haven't already, you can also read a more detailed insight into matters affecting the markets in the email.